just going to be doing a little bit of drilling, marching around. So we should probably get into 2 ranks, so I guess find a file partner who's the closest to you in height. I'll just do a little bit of marching around. Alright, detachment. We'll advance, march, march. To the left. Detachment will wheel to the left, wheel. Front.
Fowlers cannot be fitted with bayonets for protection. So the militia regulations stated that the men had to have some sort of sidearm as extra protection. So they would have carried either a hatchet like a tomahawk or a short sword. And then they would carry extra clothing, utensils, and everything went into a backpack. So it's essentially like 18th century backpack. And you had to, everything, like, you had to carry everything to stay out in the field for an extended amount of time. So every time that the militia came out and drilled and everything, they had to come out in full kit and equipment to show that they had it. And if they didn't have certain items, they were fined by the town.
It's called a Baroque guitar, and it's a lot like the contemporary, the modern guitar, except it's missing the fattest string. So it's 5 strings instead of 6, and each string is actually doubled. I don't know if you play guitar at all, but each string is doubled. And it gives the doubled string, they're very close to each other, and it gives just a nicer, sweeter, like a chorused sound. So, it's kind of a richer sound. Softer sound, it's a very delicate sound. You can put it in your finger, put like a nice, and it was, often used to accompany singing. Stands the glass around, for shame you take no care. Stands the glass around, let mirth and wine abroad. The trumpets sound, the colors they are flying, boys to fight, kill or wound, may we still be found, content with our hard family, boys on the cold, cold ground.
To write, you would actually use a feather. Separate it. You dip it in the ink and write it. Yeah, that's right. Just like so you might have your, one piece of paper. Oh, thank you. Oh yeah. And they call it a horn book because this is actually cow horn. It's not plastic. And they would boil the cow horn and they'd press it flat with bricks, and they'd snip it out.
Shut your hands. Search your arms. Return your rammers. Shoulder your firelocks. Alright, let's just get into 2 ranks again. So, file partners will roughly the same height. In this time period in the military is armed with a flintlock musket like this. There are many different styles of them, but it all has the same basic function, where you have a flint in here that hits a piece of steel, which causes a spark, which ignites powder in the pan here, that then goes through a hole in the side of the barrel, ignites more powder, and sends a lead ball in the direction of whoever you're firing. So I'll have the militia go through some of their motions. So first of all, prime and load. So what they do on the command prime and load is take a cartridge out of their cartridge box, bite off the end of it, pour some powder into the priming pan, shut the pan, pour the rest of the powder and the musket ball and the paper of the cartridge down the barrel, and then generally you would take out your ramrod to ram it down so it is at the bottom of the barrel. Alright, I'll have everyone turn around so we're not pointing at the good people here. Detachment to the right about, face. Make ready. Elevating, present. Fire. Prime and load. Detachment will advance. March, march. So they march in a block so they stay together so that they aren't able to be cut off by their enemy. Detachment will wheel to the left, wheel. Front. Let's go. Take care. Halt. Make ready. Elevating. Present. Fire. Prime and load. So right now these gentlemen are at what we call close order, where they are right up next to each other, shoulder to shoulder. But there's also the option of open order, which is good for difficult terrain if you're moving through woods or rocky areas. This becomes common as the war goes on, especially with units that are called light infantry. So detachment will dress at open order, dress. So open order is where each man is at arm's length away from the man next to him, and a well-disciplined unit can generally keep its cohesion while the men are dressed like this. So detachment will advance, march, march. Detachment will wheel to the right, wheel. Front. Take care, halt. Make ready. Elevating, present. Fire. Prime and load.
And it wasn't until 20 years after that
So a milliner is where you would go to get like certain accessories, or you get something like an accessory size, because in the 18th century fabric was a lot more valuable than to get the fabric made for a dress. So you wouldn't necessarily go there to get a dress made. Management. And then add here for two women, two sisters that actually have Boston products advertising their milliner management. So they opened that in June of 1775, which I find very interesting. Political moment that they had kind of a largest
over the course of the
so we've got, a lot of different accessories and pieces here. Sleeves, undergarments, pocket hoops.
Yeah, I always, of course, we see in the colonies the religious as well as political differences that are already growing up between these colonies. What's remarkable about this, the events, is how they are unified and they fall together because. For example, the Green Mountain Boys up in what will become Vermont were not created to fight the British Army. They were financed by Massachusetts and New Hampshire to keep Vermont from becoming part of New York.
That's right.
So they're the peaceful farmers that we think of are not quite as peaceful as all that. So,
Ethan Allen, right? It is. New York State's beautiful too. I was doing some research right when the commission began, and Rhode Island and Connecticut both contributed more soldiers to the effort per capita than any of the other states.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, which is interesting.
It's really neat.
Because we have a tendency to think that
we are fighting not so much to break our bonds with the United Kingdom and with our English brethren, but to establish something of mutual respect with them. Unfortunately, it is not a two-way street, as one has heard to use that phrase or to coin it. But we have seen several things. We have seen the siege of Boston successfully concluded. We have progressed politically in a remarkable way. Our charter was given to us by Charles II in the previous century, and it has stood the test of time. It has allowed us to govern ourselves, and monarchs and parliaments have respected that historically. Until this one, until George III and his ministers and his party in Parliament have attempted to ingress upon our rights under this charter. And we have, in response, after these many, many outrages, we have, as of this very month, we have revoked our allegiance to George III, to the King. No longer will a citizen of Rhode Island speak the words, "God save the King."
I'll ask him. Your Excellency, would you like to inspect the troops?
I would be delighted. I'll put on my glasses so I do it properly.
Bristol Company, handle arms. Order.
And martinis for all of them.
Oh, yes, sir.
Carry on. Well done. Thank you, Governor. You've all done very well.
All right, everyone, we're going to be demonstrating how a militia company would operate. We're going to start with some more basic maneuvers and then move outward from there to adaptations that were made as the war went on. All right, Richmond will advance. March, march. So right now they are operating in a close order line. So they are shoulder to shoulder. Take care, halt. Practiced a lot by light infantry companies in this time period is independent firing. So not firing when the officer tells you to, but when the other person who is with you is loaded. So you operate in files, which is two people, the one in the front and the one in the back. So when one person is loaded, then the other fires so that there's always someone loaded just in case. Detachment will take care to fire independently by files. Commence firing. So one soldier calls out to the man behind him or in front of him when he is ready, so that the other man knows to fire. Vote. Ceasefire, load and hold. So they are now all loaded and they can operate as a unit again. So one thing that units could do in this time period is operate in smaller units than the ones that they're officially assigned to, so we can divide them up into ranks. So detachment will commence firing and advancing by ranks by 5 paces. Commence. Rear rank. Post. Commence. Trail. Rear rank to front. March. Here. Halt. Make ready. Present. Front rank. March. On alone. So they can do that advancing, but they can also do it retreating. So if they are being pushed very hard, then they can do the same thing moving backward. Detachment will commence firing and retiring by ranks by 5 paces. Commence. Rear rank, make ready. To the front, mark. Here you hold. Present. Halt. Turn it off, face. Turn and load. Forward, remarch. Come on, lads, come on. Take care. Halt. What about face? Because after the Battle of Long Island, which the Continental Army lost, George Washington was gradually retreating through New York and needed reinforcements, and one of those regiments of reinforcements was Lippett's regiment. One of the company commanders in Lippett's regiment was Loring Peck of Bristol. He commanded a division of, I believe, 4 companies which were on the march down to New York together. And the start of their journey did not fare particularly well, and this is one of my favorite anecdotes I've discovered in my research about Bristol during the Revolution. There's a diary that survives from a sergeant in Loring Peck's company. The sergeant was named John Smith. He was also from Bristol, but that is the only detail I can find out about him because his name is John Smith. There were at least 3 John Smiths living in Bristol at this time, and I cannot narrow down which one of them wrote that diary. But John Smith's diary... Yes, quite right, sir. But John Smith's diary provides a lot of good detail on the Continental Army's march south to New York, and it begins, Loring Peck's company is deployed from Bristol to Newport, and then from there they got on a boat to go over to the other side of Narragansett Bay, from where they are going to march to New York. So they start going across, and the wind isn't very strong, pushing them across, and they also don't have any fresh water with them, so they're not having a good time. They are very dehydrated. It is the middle of the night when they get to the other side of the bay, and to cheer them up a bit, their ensign, the third in command of the company, junior officer, who is named Joseph Reed, buys some rum for all of the men. So as they're sitting on the shoreline drinking their rum, another higher-ranking officer shows up and tells them that they actually are needed back in Newport. So they immediately get back on the boat, and the quote from John Smith's diary is, "Without thinking to take any fresh water on board," they get back in the boat. You may recall I said that the wind was not very strong, pushing them across the bay to the Narragansett shore. Now the wind was against them, and they had no fresh water. All of their rations were salt pork and ship's biscuits, which is what we would now call hardtack, which is bread that has been baked multiple times to reduce the moisture content as much as possible. So they weren't having a very good time over there. They were eventually rescued by some of their men jumping out of the boat and swimming over to Jamestown to pick up some water, but it was not a particularly good ride, and they ended up right back where they started. About 2 weeks later, they got in another boat and crossed the bay again, much less eventfully, and then started their march down to New York. Smith records that Captain Loring Peck rode ahead of the division of companies that he commanded to tell all of the owners of all the public houses to not sell strong spirits to his troops.